company. And I'm really excited to share today with my fellows in Globant, Europe, and in the US. So please welcome first Isa Goksu, our head of technology at UK. Welcome, Isa.
Yeah, thank you, Tamara. I'm pleased to be here. So a very quick intro. My name is Isa. I'm heading the technology function for our UK and Ireland operations.
Great. Celi Carreño, our head of product and VP of technology in Europe. Hi, Celi.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, Tamara. I'm very happy to be here with all these cracks sharing this webinar. Well, I am the responsible for all the product management in the region, and happy to be here again.
Great, welcome, Celi. And Juan Jose Lopez Murphy, our head of AI in Globant too. Welcome.
Thank you. You can go by JJ. It's actually how everybody ends up calling me, so I'm fine with JJ.
Great, JJ. That's going to be. So, well, AI for Globant is not a recent trend. Actually, we've been working with AI for 10 years already. So we have lots of experiences and lots of cases to share with our audience. We are really excited to hear about these cases and these experiences you've had in the past years. So to start with Celi, since ChatGPT launch, we have seen lots of applications and different kinds of uses for AI in financial services. So what are the expected results that the institutions are looking for in AI right now?
Well, from my point of view, there are two main goals expected. The first one is related to customer experience, and the second one with cross-selling services. I would like to address the highlight competitive landscape in the financial services industry, supported by data and statistics that highlight the importance of differentiation through exceptional customer experience. I would like to talk about some key points. I will try to be fast as I can. So I would like to elaborate about the evolution of customer expectation. According to PricewaterhouseCoopers report, that 73% of banking customers consider customer experience a key factor in their decision to maintain a relationship with a financial institution. So the proliferation of digital technologies has changed customer expectation, with customers now expecting faster, more convenient and personalized financial services. Also, we have the intensification of competition. The entry of new technological players such as Fintech, big tech companies has intensified the competition in the financial services industry. The World Economic Forum predicts a 35% reduction in revenues for traditional banks by 2025 due to competition from Fintech companies. Large technology companies like Amazon, Google are venturing into the financial sector, leveraging their expertise in data analysis and customer experience. Other point that I would like to talk is the importance of an exceptional customer experience. A Salesforce study revealed that 84% of customers consider that the experience provided by a company is important as its products and services. According to this, McKinsey, companies deliver a superior customer experience can increase their revenue by up 50% and reduce the service cost by up 20%. In this context, I think it's really important to highlight the need for a personalized and high quality service to differentiate oneself in a highly competitive market. The other point that is cross-selling, if you want to delve into the topic of this point and explore the role of AI in boosting it with the financial institutions, there are several crucial factors to consider. The data-driven customer insights. AI enables financial institutions to gather and analyze vast amounts of customer data, including transaction history, browsing behavior, demographic information. All this data approach allows institutions to gain valuable insights into customer preference, needs, and potential cross-selling opportunities. Also, AI algorithms combined with predictive analytics can identify patterns and trends in customer behavior, enable the financial institutions to anticipate their customer future needs. This empowers them to deliver targeted cross-selling offers at the right time, increasing the likelihood of conversion and customer satisfaction. AI-powered recommendation engines also are transforming the cross-selling strategies. By leveraging customer data, machine learning algorithms, these engines can provide personalized product recommendations to the financial services customers based on their financial goals. We also know about the chatbots for personalized assistance. AI-powered chatbots are becoming increasingly popular in providing personalized assistance to customers. And the dynamic pricing. AI enables financial institutions to implement dynamic pricing strategies and bundle products or services based on customer preference and behavior. By analyzing all the customer data, the AI algorithm can optimize pricing, create attractive bundles that incentivize customers to explore additional offerings, leading to increase cross-selling opportunities. Also, with the regulation compliance, when a financial institution implementing AI-powered cross-selling strategy, they need to ensure compliance with data privacy and security regulation. So it is essential to establish transparent and ethical practice for data collections, usage, and customer consent to maintain customer trust and adhere to regulatory requirements. So I think it's, as I say, from my point of view, the two main goals that financial institutions are expecting.
Great. Well, you talked about extraordinary customer experience, right? So yeah. That has lots of a relationship with hyper-personalization. That is something that we are seeing around the AI. And I would like to ask Isa in this case, Isa, how should AI be used in terms of hyper-personalization in financial services? You know, we know this is a quite special vertical. I mean, we don't have to pursue like lots of information capturing to be able to sell. But the thing is, how do you think we should be using AI in these terms?
Yeah, the short answer is responsibly. There's a lot of opportunities, obviously. Like AI, now it's becoming a lot more focused area for many businesses, but personalization efforts, including hyper-personalization or contextualized banking, it's been discussed throughout the last 3-4 years, maybe heavily. From my perspective, there are like two main areas that I see that there's going to be a significant change in the fintech and financial institutions ecosystem, at least. One is going to be around behavioral and experience related opportunities, and the other one is more around financial well-being and habits related opportunities. So we're going to see day by day a lot more contextualized, a lot more personalized offers or suggestions or services coming from these ends. So I'll just give a few concrete examples just to illustrate the point. But there's a lot more. I mean, this area is, you know, like there's vast amount of opportunities here. So I guess like if you think from an experience point of view, as Sally mentioned, like there's like all these contextualized banking operations that can be provided as service. This could lead to better financial habits. Like you could provide real-time feedback on an expense. Say you're just about to, you know, like call Uber. As soon as like that initial provision comes, like your banking immediately reports, hey, like your average spend on your cab is like 25% higher. You know, like take this cab, but just be cautious on your next cab ride. So that kind of like immediate feedback and contextualized feedback is going to drive a better financial habit. Or if you're subscribing to a new service, like you can again get a like immediate real-time notification saying like your like subscription cost monthly now raised from £100 to £150. So like those kind of like you know, like real-time information is useful. It's in the right context, and it will drive a positive behavior for a better financial well-being. Another, I guess, way that I see this like this can help users is a lot, and most of the people in the planet, they're not financially literate, let's say. A lot of the financial products, they don't know what they are. I mean, most people only know compound interest, savings accounts, like some basic financial products, really. But there's a whole different, like investment class, asset classes that like people need to explore and understand. There's whole questions around, like, your tax behavior, tax incentives that you can get tax rebates, etc. Like companies know these things because they have professional, members who deal with those kind of things. But for an individual, you either need to hire an independent financial advisor, or you're just on your own, basically. You do a Google search. I think this is where like we are going to see a lot more AI movement coming into the picture. Like this comes in, I guess, from a user interface point of view first. Like when you're interacting with bank, like the mobile apps that you're interacting or the web applications you're interacting, they have a very strict and structured web interface or mobile interface. You can change them. Like there's a few options, but there's not much to do that. But if actually like you use more contextualized behavior analysis, like AI can actually suggest like different use cases and different user interfaces. Say like every time you log in, you go to your, credit card statements tab. That will be your first thing that you're going to see, like without clicking in. So that will reduce the time that people spend on mobile. Given the internet connectivity issues, this could be a boost. I think there's going to be these kind of things in the like more behavioral and experience level, I guess, services. From a different perspective, I think there is also, again, contributing to better financial habits and also like financial well-being is debt replanning. So there are various methods like avalanche method or snowball method that most people don't even know what these are. So like you either target like paying off your debt by targeting the highest interest first, or you pay the smallest one first. Kind of strategies, like again, AI could be extremely useful here because like analyzing your transactions, your risk appetite, your like interest on the various different products and services, your spending habits, they can actually suggest you like, hey, like if you're doing this, like let's clear up this debt first. To do that, I'm just gonna put £10 every month to the side. So just so that you know. So those kind of things that could be like proactive, that could be, leveraging multiple different AI models to operate. So all these things are doable. These are, to be honest, these are doable without AI. But I think AI is simplifying and making it super easier these days. And I'll give one final example, and we can finish it. Another one is, I guess, it's how you can create a retirement plan or investment plan. Again, like a lot of people don't know what these products are. So I could see a really good financial literacy services coming into the ecosystem. Things like when you have a document, you need terms and conditions from the bank, like it's just 45 pages. No one reads those things. You just accept it. But AI could summarize it for you. Like in this terms and conditions, two things that you need to pay attention are A and B. So that summarization could benefit people. Or even this is super complex to you. Like in that case, AI could just explain like you're 5. It's a very common thing. Just explain this financial whatever contract to me in, as if I'm 5-year-old or 10-year-old. So those kind of things will help people to understand what kind of risk they are taking, what kind of investment they are getting into, or what kind of risk or exposure they will have. So I see these kind of like various different services that will be first provided by fintechs because they are more nimble and agile. And then I can see this is coming to enterprise as well.
Well, this is great. This sounds like the evolution of PFMs, personal finance managers, but
for sure.
I mean, that's super interesting in terms of inclusion. For example, in Latin America, it's a quite difficult stage that we are having in terms of including people that are completely outside the system. So this is going to be like enabling that inclusion too, I think.
Yeah, even in the UK, the situation is like that. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people there unbanked. They don't know like a lot of financial products. Like you could use AI to generate content that they understand real time. Like, I mean, there's a vast majority of operations and services coming.
Sounds great. But the use of this, I mean, this implies a lot of access into the client's information, So I think that's a quite a little bit of a risk in terms of using that information, right? So in terms of the ethical use of information, JJ, I would like to ask you, how do you see this is going to be used, and how are the terms and the processes to be held by institutions to use these informations in the correct way?
Yeah, so it's not an easy question. There should be an ethical limit, but we know that there's a lot of incentives to try to look the other way, find new ways, be creative around that. And the thing is that the ethical limits should be always centered about things like the fairness, how much we're empowering the agency of the person or their capability to make conscious choices, the accountability of how the process occurred, the tools we give people to change the outcome of that. And let me elaborate that because it's a huge umbrella, actually. Like, first of all, who is using the information and the AI tools? Because if I'm a bank and I'm giving tools like ChatGPT or an extension so that people can understand their statements better, well, access to information is not really an ethical problem there, because they are using a tool to be better at handling their own information. Now, when the bank uses that to customize something and maybe, as Isa was saying, nudge your behavior in one way or the other, well, then there's the problem. The behavior is going to be beneficial to whom? Am I tying the consumer to be ever dependent on me as a bank, or am I freeing them up financially? And it's not a kind of clear cut. There's a lot of nuance there, like, well, if the person doesn't have the financial literacy yet to make some of those decisions, maybe giving that freedom, I'm just giving them the space to become indebted beyond what they can handle. And so the ethical limit is always going to be cumbersome. It's always going to be a problem. But in the context of how, let's say, a financial institution uses information, well, let's say that I'm using a model to say if you can have a loan. This is something that's been happening, like, I don't know how many years. Like, finance has been an industry using math and algorithms for so long that it's kind of ingrained in everything they do. But let's say I'm using an algorithm and I'm saying, well, you know, Celi, you get a loan, but you, Isa, you don't. And then the question is, first of all, can I explain why? If I can't, then that's one problem, because it might be a bias, it might be a bubble, it might be an error, it might be something else. Second of all, can I tell you what you should change so that you could get the loan? Because even if it's not explainable, I'm giving you tools. And if what I have to change is my country of origin, well, bad luck. It's like I really can't change that, you know? But the third one is, let's say that I cannot really change it. Can I redress it? Can I apply to say, look, I want to speak to a person, I want to make my case, I want to, I don't know, fight it somehow. If those three are available, then the ethical question is a lot less dangerous, let's say, because people have the tools to know why, I have accountability why, and I can do something about it. If those aren't there, then it's starting to be a problem, because you get into decisions like, well, am I enabling freedom in my clients, or am I trying to smother them in care and maybe not let them do whatever they want with their money? And there are going to be different kind of ideological views about that liberty, care, and things like that. And it's fine. I guess it's going to be part of the brand value that these financial institutions give. And that is kind of the second part of the question, which is, there is economic incentives on being borderline ethical to get a better, let's say, return on investment. And that might work on the short term. But eventually, people find out what you are doing and the kind of information you're using. And then what happens to your brand value? What happens to the confidence? What happens to a financial institution in which you believe that they're behaving kind of shady? You're not going to really trust your money with them or their advice or anything else. So being accountable, being ethical is something that in the long term is going to be able to bring that brand value and enable the customers to trust you and to leverage the algorithms even more. So probably many financial institutions will use them in an unethical manner in the short term. but it will plateau eventually. And we will get into practices that say, look, this is correct, this is not, this might be even illegal, and this is how we will control for that. But if we're looking into these kind of initial dimensions, fairness, agency, accountability, and redress possibilities, then we are in the safe, and we are in the direction of building, actually building a relationship with our clients, because beyond the brand value, beyond everything, technology will make a lot of new companies and newcomers come in and challenge the status quo. So how do we build that relationship? And AI can definitely help in that if we don't erode the trust with our own clients.
Right. And about this and about building the relationship and the brand awareness and the customer service, you know, Celi, you talked about this before. Not only because of generating new revenue lines, but also in terms of reducing costs. Can AI be applied in terms of reducing Opex in some processes into financial institutions that are already working in a different way? Celi, what's your opinion about this?
When it comes to customer service in the financial services industry, effectively managing Opex is essential. This is where AI comes in a game changer, offering significant potential to reduce the Opex. And let me explain how. Firstly, AI can automate repetitive tasks that don't require human intervention. Imagine having virtual assistants or chatbots that can handle common customer inquiries, or provide account information, or assist with basic transactions. By taking over these routine tasks, financial institutions can reduce the need for human resources, which means lower staffing costs and ultimately less money spent. Secondly, AI enables self-service options for customers that are required today. It allows them to access information, perform transactions, and find answers to common questions on their own. By empowering customers with self-service platforms, financial institutions can decrease their reliance on human assistance, resulting in Opex reduction. Additionally to this, AI-powered analytics can help optimize resource allocation. By analyzing vast amount of customer data, AI can identify patterns, as I mentioned previously, and predict customer needs. This allows financial institutions to allocate their resources more efficiently, avoiding excess capacity and unnecessary costs. Moreover, AI enables personalized customer experience. That is a really important thing for our clients. By understanding individual preference and needs through data analysis, financial institutions can tailor their offerings, the communications, and also the support. This not only leads to happier customer, but can also potentially reduce costs related to customer retention. AI can also assist in fraud detection and prevention. By using AI algorithms to analyze real-time data, financial institutions can spot patterns that indicate fraudulent activity. Automating the fraud detection process helps reduce the costs associated with manual reviews, investigation, and potential losses. But furthermore, AI streamlines compliance processes by automating regulatory checks and monitoring. This helps financial institutions save time and money, of course, by reducing the needs for manual oversight and expediting compliance operations. Lastly, AI technologies like robotic process automation, or what we know as RPA, can automate repetitive manual tasks, allowing employees to focus on more valuable activities and transform the roles of specific profiles. This improves overall efficiency and productivity, which can lead to cost savings in the long run. So from my point of view, by leveraging AI in the financial services ecosystem, financial institutions can optimize off-core processes, provide better customer experience, increase their operational efficiencies, and reduce Opex. Again,
Customer experience and data,
yeah,
and analyzing data and exploiting that data. Well, it comes this question. I mean, what are the limits between customization and intrusion in terms of what you're going to be offering to that client, and what are the patterns that you're going to be offering to them and using to offer better products and better experiences, So Isa, what's your opinion about this? Because intrusion and customization and hyper-personalizations, those three things comes in a I don't know, a risky combination, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. To be honest, there's no straight answer to this. I think JJ highlighted this initially. Maybe the interim initial onboarding of AI into our lives is going to be a bit sketchy in many ways. We don't know any better practices or any particularly strong opinions about it. It's a controversial ecosystem right now. Every AI expert has their own identity politics associated with whatever they say about AI. So there's no right and wrong answer to many of these questions, other than something is lawfully forbidden. So and also there is a behavioral economics aspect of it. So the behavioral economics dictates that people prefer convenience over, I guess, spying or privacy concerns. So if something is convenient, people tend to choose it still, despite your data is being used in some way, unless there's some legal consequences. So I think there's going to be a bunch of companies exploiting this by providing better conveniences, etc. But responsible AI is a movement that many AI experts are trying to highlight as best as they can. Whatever we are doing, AI doesn't mean just LLMs, by the way. It's not just large language models where things sometimes go wrong. They lie in such a way that it's convincing. They hallucinate. There's a bunch of different problems with LLMs, right? But AI is not just LLMs. LLMs is where a lot of people kind of learned about AI. Oh, there is AI. But it's a field of 40, 50 years that people are investing significant time and energy on a bunch of different math models to predict what might be the better outcome of a given situation. So given all these things, I guess, we need to just let our customers know which data that we're capturing, what data that is going to be used as GDPR and a few other, I guess, policies are dictating. You need to just tell customer that, not in a high level statement, hey, we will use this for marketing purposes. So that's not precise enough for customers. So maybe it's a little bit more precise than that. Hey, we're going to use this. We're going to look at your credit card spendings. And based on your spendings, we're going to try to drive you a better spending profile, better product suggestions. So those kind of concrete explanations will kind of ease the problem a bit. But if you give these high level explanations of things, hey, we will use this for, our own goods, but also marketing. That it could mean anything. And people tend to kind of oh, and then spider senses on. So I think the transparency to not break the trust, as JJ mentioned earlier, trust is the only currency they have with their customers. So if they break that, that's going to be a significant impact in their brand, in their reputation, and there might be some regulatory, follow-up after that. So I think financial institutes, given they've been the first using mathematical models since ages, I think they're going to be a little bit more careful. Unlike other industries like retail or I don't know, transportation, logistics, maybe there are areas where you can kind of do some of these things, but in FS, I think it's going to be a little bit limited.
Yeah. In financial services, we have lots of processes. KYC, for example, that's a huge thing in financial services in terms of the data you're going to use and you're going to handle of your clients, not only if they know or not or they don't, but in terms of internal processes and regulators. In terms of KYC, JJ, how do you see AI is going to evolve in these terms, and it can be used for improving KYC processes? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think definitely there's, I don't know how low, but let's say it's a lowish hanging fruit in kind of easing how customers interact with the KYC components, because loading your information countless of times for different purposes and revalidating that. And it's really has a lot of friction when it might be just as simple as, you know, these are some documents of mine that are legal for some reason. You just take pictures and take the information from there and just let me validate that. And so the whole process could be eased up a lot. And a lot of inconsistencies could be valued, and a lot of things could be conciliated between sources. So KYC, it's a burden for the institutions and for the users, but it's a requirement for the kind of legal background. So yeah, we could definitely make it easier, and we could make it easier in terms of how the information is captured, but also how we interact with that. Like, oh, you know what? I moved. I need to change that. I don't have to go dwell into 25 menus and whatever. Just, hey, ChatGPT, I changed my address. Go figure it out. So there is a component that is extremely valuable there. The flip side is on the, let's say, information that is hard to change, and on this characteristic that these generative AI models have about, well, what they infer that's actually not there, you know, the hallucinations, as it's called. So on one side, let's say that I can use things like my face, my thumbs, my retinal ID, whatever, to identify myself, which is a let's say, frictionless way of identifying me because I carry that with me always. But what happens if those keys that depend on those biometrics get stolen or hacked? I cannot change my eyes, and neither should I. And so there's a fine line between, well, how much do I know of the customer and how much am I prying without their consent? Like, oh, I detect that you like ice cream. Well, I don't care that. Don't look into that. So it's okay if we can use AI to improve how we leverage information, but it should be validated by use. Like when we're discussing the ethical limits is, if I'm, let's say, capturing information from series of documents or things like that, and I say to the customer, look, this is what I know of you. Are you okay with me processing this? Do you want to avoid any field? Do you want to whatever? Then it might work out because I'm helping the customer not having to type everything or load everything, but I'm still asking for permission, which could be a kind of an interesting balance there. Now, the dangerous part is the part where the customer doesn't see it. Like, let's say that I have some documents from the client, and given that I want to run this promotion or whatever, I start inferring characteristics of the client, and any of the protected categories get involved. And I try to assume the gender of the person or whatever. It gets complicated because then again, I'm just filling in the gaps when maybe I shouldn't even ask, but I'm still doing that anyway. Or even worse, when I'm inferring, it's a characteristic that is not a protected category, but it's so heavily correlated with that I'm indirectly doing that. Like there's been studies that in the US, you know, the zip code is a very close proxy to terms of ethnicity in many regions. And so, oh, but I'm not asking about ethnicity. Well, but if you're inferring the zip code, you're almost there. And so, and if I'm hallucinating the zip code, then it gets compounded. So the thing is there needs to be, let's say, a layer of validation about the user saying, okay, I permit this, I validate this. And then there's a regulatory component, you know, like the AI regulations that are coming about in Europe about, well, the models you're using to doing that, are they audited by external people? Are they tested? Can you give an account of the kind of data that you use to train it? Do you know if that implies copyright or not? Is it a risky application? And so there are all those layers to consider, but most of those get typically solved by the framing of the problem. Like this simple description. If you can just take a picture of your documents, I show you the information I capture from there and you validate that, that works. If I don't know, detect that you have documents somewhere in the platform, consume them, and just use the information without you knowing that, well, you're in for a world of hurt. And that's kind of the balance there.
Yeah, it sounds like the end of terms and conditions, you know, where you sign a lots of quite so little letters at the end, at the bottom line of all the papers you have to sign. Sounds really great. I would like to know about the cases, concrete and real cases you have worked in, because I mean, as I said before, we've been working in AI, I mean, for 10 years already. So I would like to know about the concrete cases that you work in. And for example, Celi, what's in your experience the AI implementations that impacted you the most in the last years?
Well, it's we have our product innovation framework that we call innovation spikes. In one of our innovation spikes, we propose the creation of a product called voice activating banking. And this concept involves leveraging existing voice assistants, but connecting them with customer home banking platform to enable various operations such as balance inquiry, transfer between frequent beneficiaries, peer-to-peer payment, Bizum in Spain, and more. However, it's important to know that due to regulatory and safety consideration, voice alone cannot be used as authentication factor. So this was a POC. But the idea also includes leveraging voice assistant in the onboarding process for new customer. For example, when a financial institution's advertisement air on cable television platform equipped with voice assistant, customer could initiate the onboarding process by interacting with the voice assistant. However, it should be emphasized that additional security measures beyond voice recognition will be required to ensure a robust authentication process that complies with regulatory standards and safeguard customer information. So by combining voice assistant with home banking platforms and exploring innovative marketing channels, the voice activating banking product aims to enhance customer convenience and provide a seamless banking experience. While voice technology offers significant potential, it was essential also to prioritize security and compliance by implementing robust authentication mechanisms alongside the voice-based interaction. But apart from this own product experience, we also want to talk about real examples of financial institutions that have successfully implemented AI in order to improve the customer experience. For example, the Bank of America. They implement an AI-powered virtual assistant called Erica. And Erica uses natural language processing and machine learning algorithms to provide personalized assistance to the customers. DBS Bank. The DBS Bank in Singapore has deployed an AI-powered chatbot called POSB Digibot to enhance their call center services. This chatbot assists customers in various banking transactions, including funds transfer, bill payments, and account inquiries, and is available 24/7 and has a significant reduced call center volumes by handling routine inquiries efficiently. So these are the examples that I have and that impressed me the most. Yeah.
Quite interesting, quite interesting. Isa, JJ, do you have any other cases you can share with us?
Well, I can explain, but it's going to be a little bit narrow because it's about document conciliation of financial derivatives, and so
it's so boring.
It's not the most consumer friendly one.
A little bit better entertained. Isa, do you have something?
I guess I'm gonna give a different flavor and then answer to this. So many of our clients, I think we can't specific to talk about the details of the project, but we can talk about like the area that we are working with them. I would say pretty much like any FS organization that we're working with, like there is some chatbot activity going on. Let me put it that way. So like these chatbots are obviously leveraging the large language models. It used to be a little bit different, it was kind of like responding in the same questions to you, regardless of what you asked, like there was like the same answer that you were getting because the chat models are quite different back in the days. But now we are getting into a little bit more natural conversation. So like you can ask, like the intent is being captured in some vector space and you can model that within your own, knowledge base. And you can respond. So this allows like the initial onboarding or frequently asked questions to be kind of filtered that would reduce the customer experience teams, CSR teams, basically, like they are having less calls or less, less time spent on mundane activities. They're just dedicating their time to more appropriate, valid cases that requires like human attention. Another set of activities in a few of our clients is around like robo-advisors. So like these are investment advisors for like obviously high net worth individuals, but also for like even like people like ourselves, like normal humans, mere mortals. So they get some financial advice from these services. So if you have some savings, you could like, what is the best way to kind of leverage that? Which portfolio that you need to use this? So those kind of advice bots, if that makes sense, that are financially literate, they're not generic. They understand the financial domain really well. They understand the market trends. They understand the market conditions. So those are like a few of examples that I can probably mention here.
Yeah, so
but there is another segment that I want to highlight also is like as Globant, we've been investing in AI, as you just said in the beginning, like it's been quite some time, almost like a decade for us. And along this way, we developed a few tools that we believe it will leverage and make people more productive. One is Augur, basically. It's basically a companion like GitHub Copilot that everyone is familiar these days. But it's a little bit of a different take than that. It's not generating code for you. It tries to understand the code for you. This is extremely useful for big financial institutions. When you consider they have legacy apps that like, you know, whoever built is not with them anymore, they are retired, there's no documentation. So like this is a perfect use case because someone needs to explain the code. And it's not just explaining because it's 6 million lines, just explaining alone is not gonna help. You need to find the particular segment in the code base that are semantically equivalent to what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to find a place in the code base where you want to transfer money or you want to like apply tax, whatever. So like, how do you find in 6 million lines of code that you haven't written, you know, like, or someone else has written in, I don't know, Java 1 or COBOL. So this is where like you could definitely leverage like products like Augur. Another one that we believe it's going to change how people, you know, adopt technology is Magnify. I would say it's reducing the tester force dramatically because it's not only doing its visual testing that is being like created initially for, with the now generative AI capabilities, it can also like write tests for you. So that will reduce the amount of energy spent for, again, like very static code or vanilla code created by QAs. Now it can be fully automated and QAs can pay more attention to the value add parts. And I'll just drop there, I would say.
Ah, so interesting, so interesting. I'm going to use the last 15 minutes we have left to ask some questions that our audience is sharing with us. The first one from Carolina. Wouldn't AI's tendency to hallucinate be very dangerous in financial services space? This is quite interesting. JJ, do you want to take it?
Well, I can take a part of that. So yeah, it could be very dangerous, but the whole thing is where you use it. Like if you're asking, let's say, I'm going to say ChatGPT just because it's the most known, not because it's the only one or because it's a problem of ChatGPT. But if you have ChatGPT, like what could be a good investment or what is going to be the stock price in the year time of a given peak or something like that, it will hallucinate data. And then when you're just taking that at face value and consuming that, it's going to be a problem. And it's going to be a problem when you use it to fill the gaps of things that you don't know. But it's not so much the problem when you use it to, let's say, translate, as Isa was saying, like explain this covenant of the contract to me like I'm 5. Or having this information, package it in a way that it's readable to me, that is not on very technical legal language or financial language, but things that are closer to my experience. And then it's about how you frame the problem. Like if you're just connecting a large language model and that's it, it's going to be a problem. If you use that as an interface, as a power orchestrator, or one of the components of the solution you're building, then you can have what is called guardrails, you can have what is called guidance, you can have other means of controlling that. Hallucinations is going to be, or are currently a problem, and they are still going to be a problem for these kind of models, but we are growing in understanding of how to, let's say, hedge them. So I don't want to say it's a matter of skill, but it's a matter of framing. It's a matter of designing the solution.
Okay. Okay, some other...
Can I add one more thing? Yeah, just I try to highlight this like in one of the responses that I had, but I think when we think of AI, we shouldn't limit our, I guess, understanding of AI to just LLMs, where the hallucinations happens a lot. And that, like, it's in the news. It's like, that's why it has this visibility that like AI just creates just random bullshit kind of thing, which it does, by the way. I mean, no one is denying that. But as JJ said, I mean, it's all about framing. Like, how do you even prompt AI to respond to you? Like, what was the context that you're giving? All these things definitely matter. Another thing, though, is like outside of LLMs, there's probably like vast majority of like artificial intelligence models that we are adopting day by day for various tasks, and they don't hallucinate. Or they actually like come to a really good estimation of what could be the next thing or what could be the better outcome and probability. So in the end, it's math. And in the end, like no one knows the future. So all we can do is just come up with the best approximation and best prediction forward. And that's like some of the models help us, like given your spending profile, for instance, what is the best outcome to pay which debt first, for instance? AI can say like, you know, I'm 75% confident if you put 10 pounds, given the spending profile, you would be better off in 10 months. I mean, why not we use this? I mean, it's definitely beneficial. But if you ask this very same question to ChatGPT, even you give the data, ChatGPT might say, well, you should still buy Tesla, you know, stocks. You know, it could be just random things like that. So, I mean, it's important to like frame context, but also like using the right models and right tool for the job rather than most fancy one.
Great, great. We have another question. How do you make sure that the financial data that is used for training models is anonymous? Again, ethical use and compliance, KYC, so many concepts that we've talked about. How can we guarantee that this data is used in an anonymous way? Is it required, by the way? Is it really required?
I'll give the first intro, and JJ, maybe you can add.
Yeah.
So first of all, I guess like first of all, the data anonymization is like outside of AI. It's a separate concern. It's a separate field, I would say. Like you could definitely like use the techniques there to do your best. Like the important thing for like any AI or financial services, like AI usage or mathematical usage, it's not the like the individual that you're trying to identify there. It is the persona that you're trying to identify. What is the persona? What is the profile here? There, we don't need PAI data, let's say. But some, you know, financial organizations obviously just cross the boundary of that thing and then just step into the personally identifiable information. So in the EU, I think GDPR saves a lot of the concern, a lot of the hassle away. But the problem is still there. I mean, you can still, like as JJ said, like use like side information and drag that kind of information, like the PII information. So I don't think there is any direct solution to this, and there is any regulatory pressure on that because it's a huge gray area. Like, I mean, you can enforce a lot of things, but then the day-to-day activities would be just useless. Like, but then you can ignore, and then you can put a lot of people in danger. So it's really like the leadership of the organizations need to pay attention and follow the responsible principles, basically. And I'll hand it over to JJ. I guess I cut your word, I guess.
Great, thank you.
No. I'll be very brief anyway. On one extreme, you can say that it's impossible to keep a big enough data set anonymous because we through our actions leave a, let's say, fingerprint of our mode of behavior. And so even if we don't have a name or data from the KYC, you might end up picking up a pattern and maybe able to correlate that to something else. But in the middle, the point is, on the typical data and AI regulations, you'll see things like, well, do I need this piece of data to actually make that decision? If I don't, then it shouldn't even be part of the data set. And then you're trying to limit the consumption of data at the source. And in the middle, there are techniques being developed about using synthetic data, which is how can I create virtual representations of people, actions, decisions, and things like that have the same statistical properties as the actual data, but I never touch them. And that is a very good kind of compromise scenario. It has technical limitations, like models have something that is called model collapse, then again, geeking out a little bit. But it's a good solution. It's a good complement. It's not the end result. It's not something that will guarantee that it will work, but there are a lot of things being worked to be able to do that. And even it might not be required for the data to be anonymous if we just don't access it and we only access the trained model. So it's an open space. There's a lot of research to do, and we will have better outcomes in the future.
Great. Here's a very, very interesting question about us, about how Glovers came into AI and keep coming into AI. How have you grown your AI competencies and awareness throughout the company? Celi, I think you can talk about this. You've been here for so long and you lived this in the first person.
Well, I would like to answer this question with an example, and it's also related with another question that we received for the audience. That is, how would you implement a new AI sector without having to fire people who occupy roles in which it will act? I think that's the question. I will use an example of one of our recent competitions about AI, and in the tradition, I will talk about the traditional business analyst role. One important task for the BAs is to write user story. With AI, we can partially automate this task using natural language processing algorithms. And the AI system can generate initial user stories, drafts based on predefined templates and also historical data. However, instead of replacing BAs, the role shift to reviewing, refining, and evolving the algorithm generate user stories. So the BAs can provide the necessary human touch by adding context, creativity, domain expertise to automate outputs. They can ensure that the user stories align with the specific need of the project, of the user, and the markets, and the client, and also incorporate the user feedback and capture complex scenarios that may not be easily inferred by the AI by themselves. So by leveraging the AI to streamline repetitive tasks, BAs can focus on higher value activities, such as conducting in-depth stakeholder interviews, analyze complex business requirement, business scenario, providing more strategic insights, work with a collaborative approach with the stakeholders and with the rest of the team. So I don't know if with this I can answer both questions about what we are doing. We are not thinking to replace roles with AI. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's basically test and learn, you know, just have access to the tools and start using them, right?
Exactly.
With the responsibility.
I think JJ can also talk about our internal tools. For example, StarMeUp that is using intelligence and artificials to retain people, to know their specific moment of each one of our Glover, how to help them to grow, to evolve, etc. So we have a lot of tools, a lot of things doing in EA.
Yeah, area. And also Augur and Magnify. Isa mentioned that we're using them to develop our own products. I mean, that's a huge improvement in terms of efficiency and results, of course. Yeah, that's been an interesting path in the last years. Time for one other question. What are the most powerful uses that you have found specifically in stock exchange markets? Wow, this is quite this is quite interesting. I think maybe in terms of prediction models and those stuff, it's going to come something different in the future. What do you think about this?
Yeah. So I'll give my personal experience because I have worked in stock exchange in the past multiple times. One of the biggest things that we're going to see on surveillance side of stock exchange, like the prediction analysis and everything, so which we can do a lot more than what it was before. So there's definitely a lot of improvement coming into that. But another thing, I think there's a market need in the testing side of stock exchange. So trading engines, matching engines, like market dissemination channels, all these things are producing data, but there is no easy way to test the accuracy of this data so that you can create different models, different algorithms in the stock exchange world, at least on the client side, member side. So the members can definitely get benefit if there was such a tool available. And I know of like a few activities happening in that. I think we're going to see in the next year or so, like there is going to be testing entire venue system, entire, I guess, different stock exchange and the product suites and asset families, like in one box with like extremely timely manner. So like just doing the entire regression test on a trading engine can take like weeks and weeks with their own staff. The members do their own side of the story. Like, I mean, the amount of effort spent here is months of activities and millions of dollars of just saying, okay, like we're not making anything wrong here. So that, I think we're going to see a lot of improvement by AI. Like some of these things are going to be automatically generated. We can simulate market data, like synthetic market data, to come up to an economical condition where some of the products are better applied or not kind of models. I think it was quite difficult. You know, some really high capital investment companies can do these things, but not everyone was able to do that. But I think going forward, it's going to change.
Great, great. And only one last question. We have 2 minutes left, but I don't want to ignore that question about fraud prevention. That's a topic we didn't talk about. And it's quite interesting in terms of how fraud is evolving and how AI can bring the capabilities that to avoid that stuff of things. What are the different types of fraud and the capabilities of AI to solve them? Anyone? This is quite interesting.
Well, I spoke a lot, so I'll defer this to JJ this time.
Okay, I'll take the bait, but so I think that the tricky thing about AI and fraud is that it will enable prevention as much as generation, in the sense that, yeah, it may help us spot complex patterns that are used to create frauds. It may help us correlate groups of people or entities that are acting in concert so they can game the system. And it's a set of powerful tools to sift through a lot of information to actually detect them and kind of have the actual proof of a given fraud. But there's also deepfakes, and there's also the voice cloning, and there's also identity cloning, and there's also the capability of creating entire fake identities and the underlying documentation to create the profiles. And so it is going to be an adversarial race. And it's likely that it's not going to be solved. I mean, the problem is caused by AI in fraud will not be solved by more AI, but rather by something else. And probably has to do with blockchain, or probably has to do with some other forms of providing proof of humanity or something else. Because it's like when people are trying to use ChatGPT to know if somebody wrote something with ChatGPT, first of all, that is wrong, don't do it. But second of all, it really doesn't work. And so the thing is, more AI is not going to solve the problem when the problem is generated by AI. So we need to think about something else. How do we prove our belonging to a given community? How do we prove the identity? How do we validate the transactions before they happened? How do we provide evidence of what we claim is a fraud? That is going to be the key. And definitely AI is going to help. But it's as powerful a tool for the fraudsters as well as the regulators.
Okay.
I'll just add one more thing there, very quick. I think outside of like financial service organizations' responsibility of fraud detection and prevention, I think there's a lot more phishing possibilities using like deepfakes and like various different activities, I guess. Like there's a bit of a literacy and education that we need to at least like tech companies, I think we're responsible from that. We should produce more content like this and make sure that we are reaching out to even like a standard public, so that what kind of phishing might be going through. When you receive a phone call from your son asking, you know, like 50 pounds to one account and there's an emergency, I'll explain all you later. that's the only voice that you heard. You just wire this money to just random account and you think it's your son, but actually someone might have called your son, captured their voice, cloned it, and text the voice, you're done. Basically, like, it's really difficult for normal human to kind of like, but there's some learning of this. I think like that's our responsibility as tech companies to teach these things. And I think media corporations also need to take part in that, so that like some of these education actually streams to like various different parts of the communities and countries. Yeah, like I think fraud is not a single dimensional puzzle. It is now 3 or maybe 4 dimensional puzzle, and it's going to get even worse.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
I just to finish, I think there is a lot to learn about fraud. There is a lot that AI can help, but I am agree with JJ that we will need more tools, that we will need more areas to help us with that.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Of course, we've passed the time, but I could stay forever talking with you about this stuff. We for sure we're going to have another slot to keep on going and keep on talking about this. But I want to thank you, JJ, Celi, Isa. It's been a pleasure to talk with you. And for our audience, I mean, this recording is going to be available, so if you need to reach us, just let us know. So thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you everyone. Cheers.